Journaling didn't change my life, but the clarity and the skills that I gained from journaling 100% did. I want to share that with you here today because journaling, like I say, has truly impacted me, impacted my business and my mindset, all that kind of stuff. It's crucial, and I think it's something that everyone should be discussing, and I think it's something that everyone should be doing. So let's get into it. Hey, thanks for joining me again. Like I said in the intro, journaling for me is something that has truly had a massive impact. And I think I'm very excited I know we've talked about it before, but I'm very excited to kind of re-enter that and explain exactly why I feel the way I feel and what it could do for you. So I think the biggest thing to keep in mind with journaling, again, there's a couple things I would want to break into, and it's not this magic tool, right? It's not quite, if you just do it, regardless of what it is, it'll just happen for you. It's not just a one size fits all thing. The reason I explain that is because when I first encourage people to journal, I have a couple people that I kind of work with and coach and stuff here in the office. And when I first encourage someone to journal, there's a couple stages we have to keep in mind. And the first is just building the habit, right? We've talked about habit stacking before, but in order to get benefit from journaling, you do need to do it, and you do need to do it consistently. So first we got to build the habit, right? The simplest way for me to have built that habit, or I hate to say it, but like for a guy that keeps on learning and trying to grow, you fall in and out of these habits sometimes. So the simplest way for me to A, build the habit originally, B, get back into the habit, and I guess C, just really get the most value out of it, is just to do it consistently. And for me, that looked like simply getting a piece of paper and just writing the date on the top. That's similar to like if I'm trying to build the habit of working out or making calls or anything like that. I really start with that very, very low floor. So by writing the date, just grabbing a piece of paper and a pen, your commitment is, whatever that is, the first 7 days, the first 10 days. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab my paper, grab my pen, maybe once a day before I go to bed, and I'm just going to write the date, right? Just write the date on the top. And you're taking away a lot of the barriers to entry with that. So what I find anyways, it's similar to just putting on your gym shoes. And then you're like, wow, if my gym shoes are on already, I might as well do a quick workout. So what I find with journaling is very, very similar. You write the date on the top of the paper. Anybody can do that. It takes 10 seconds. You have a bed by your nightstand or on your nightstand. Write the date. And then naturally what you're going to do is you're going to take it a little bit further than that, right? But for that first week or the first 2 weeks, whatever that is, the expectation and the floor that you want to hit is just simply writing the date on the piece of paper. Once you get into that, we'll get into the structure of journaling and how to actually benefit from it. But once you get into that, it's the first couple weeks is maybe it's okay. If I can get past that every single day, writing the date on the top, maybe it's just like one sentence. What am I grateful for today? Could be a good thing. Could be a recognition of something bad that happened, whatever that is, but just write one sentence, close the journal, and then build your habit like that. Okay. Now, for me, again, it's journaling isn't this magic potion or anything like that, but once you build consistency with journaling, I think you'll find a lot of benefit. Because if you're anything like me, so for me, discipline isn't necessarily the problem, it's clarity, right? I can have ideas and I can have discipline, but if I'm not really being clear with myself, if I'm not staying focused on one thing at a time, my excitement for a project, anything like that, will take me 100 different directions. And what I find is you start to get that drift. And when you say drift, I'm not talking about, a real bad thing or ruining your life over the span of a year. It's just like not being as clear on what you're trying to accomplish. And when you get that drift, when you get that, that movement of ideas, or the lack of clarity on ideas, for me anyways, things like stress, floating ideas, there's pressure, all that kind of stuff kind of compounds. And if I don't just get it on a piece of paper, it really just wreaks havoc on my clarity. So most people, I assume, are similar to me, where you don't necessarily have a discipline problem. You have a clarity problem and you have a thinking problem. You get distracted, you get scattered, and sometimes stress and pressure, mixed up thoughts, all just kind of sit in your head. And if you're not putting them down and getting clear with them, it can really wreak havoc on your day-to-day life, whether that's personal, business, family, anything like that. If you just have stress floating around, it just eats at you and it just takes over. Because for me, like if my thoughts are a bit messy, and I'm human, I'm learning this, but I can get that way. My thoughts get a bit scattered, my thoughts get messy, and I get stressed and I feel pressure, whatever that is. But if my thoughts are messy, so are my actions. And I really need to be focused on keeping my thoughts very clear so that my actions fall into place. That could be anything. If I want to clean the house one day, if I want to do the dishes, for an example that anybody needs to do dishes, right? If I want to do the dishes one day and there's a sink full of dishes, but then I walk downstairs in the morning and I want to start by pouring my coffee, and then I get a call, and then, oh no, it's already 9:00 and all of a sudden I need to go and run do this thing. And then next thing you know, by the end of the day, there's still dishes in the sink and it's 10:00 at night and you don't want to do them and you just want to sit on the couch and put your feet up, right? But if you start that day with a very direct thought in a journal saying like, today, my main focus of today is to do the dishes. You're going to come downstairs, you're going to see the dishes in the sink, and that's going to be the first thing you do, just by getting clear on your actions and what you need to do that day. Because if you're anything like me, you don't really have that extreme clarity until you write them down, similar to a to-do list or a checklist when you get in the office, right? It's really just kind of organizing your thoughts and saying this is going to be priority for the day and having some sort of a structure to take care of those top priorities. For me, I'll be very transparent. Journaling is something that I'm passionate about. It's through the skills I've learned through journaling, it's changed my life. And every time I really need a boost, I go back to journaling first, right? And I hate to say it, I go back to, because like many, when things get really good or really bad, some of these little consistent habits fall by the wayside, right? And for me, I've really found that journaling is one of those things where even though I really feel when I'm doing it well, or just even doing it consistently, not even that well, it has a massive positive impact in my life. I'm more efficient in business. I'm more efficient at home. I'm happier. I have substantially more gratitude in my life. And my life is just all around better when I journal. And that's why I'm passionate about this stuff, because I want that for you, right? And to be totally, to tell the story about myself is, very recently I've felt lots of stress, lots of pressure. This time of year in my world is just hectic and there's a lot of things going on. And I fell out of journaling again. So I knew that essentially what happened is, and I hate to say it, but I was laying awake at night regularly and my thoughts would go crazy. And it got to a point there a little while ago where I was just laying awake, could not sleep, and I just kind of had probably the closest thing that I've ever come to just a panic attack, right? Like I just could not really catch my breath. I'm laying there on my back looking at the ceiling, and I'm just laying there crying. Like I legitimately just tears rolling down my cheeks, and I didn't really know what was going on. And it all started because I just had this flood of thoughts in my head, and I'm just like, everything just starting to circle and compound, and I'm thinking about, the natural stuff that everybody's thinking about: life, bills, clients, everything, relationships, friends. And it's like everything. And all of a sudden I'm like going through my own loop of I'm behind and fitness. And I just really it really beat me down. And I knew at that point, sometimes it takes getting to, that wasn't a rock bottom, but that was a low spot for me in the last few months. And I just really realized that, hey, although I feel like everything is going pretty well, naturally, if I've just drifted enough that I'm laying here awake at night, just stressed beyond measure that something isn't going to go my way, then I need to really focus on getting back to those little habits. And for me, journaling is one of those where I just get back and once I start writing my thoughts down, and once I start focusing on gratitude, and once I start really being very clear in business, which all comes from journaling, I just have that, it was a few days and I just felt tremendously better, right? It's an amazing shift when you actually start focusing on what's real, right? Similar to with my daughters, if they have a bad dream, they wake up in the middle of the night and like, I seen a monster, I seen something scary, whatever that is. My thing is like, I go back to, okay, show me what's real. Show me what can you touch? And I go through this thing and it's corny. My kids hate it, but touch your blanket. Is your blanket real? Well, I don't want to touch it. And then they touch it. Is it real? Yeah, it's real. Touch your water glass. Is that real? Yeah. Touch my arm. Am I real? Yes. Was that monster real? No. And it's a silly little thing, but it just really gets your mind realizing what is real. Similar to me as an adult, like I'm not going to go and touch a blankie, but at the same time, sometimes you need that shift. And for me, it's write down things that are actually happening. Write down things that you actually have and that you're actually grateful for, or even better, that you're not grateful for, that you should be. Write down things that you need to do and organize those things. Write down your thoughts, maybe write down a key phrase of the day, anything like that. And it's really just circling around to making sure those things that you need to be very clear on, tasks, gratitude, all that kind of stuff are written down. Because hey, we all have a tremendous amount to be grateful for, especially with what's going on in the world. We have a tremendous amount to be grateful for. And the best way for me to circle back around to that gratitude is just simply writing it down. I'm kind of jumping around a bit here, but, realistically, I come to celebration, right? And it's really easy if you hit a marker, if you hit a income per year, you hit a body weight, you accomplished a thing that you said you were going to do, you read a book that you wanted to read. And if you don't have that little celebration, you're getting back to just moving the goalposts. You read that book that you've thought of reading for 2 years, I don't know. And as soon as you're done, you're like, okay, what's the next book? It's just the way our minds are wired, right? You're not going to sit there and you're not going to typically celebrate, oh, I just read this book that I've been thinking about, or, oh, I had a fantastic year. Unfortunately, we're most of us are wired where you don't even say, oh, I had this fantastic year, I should go out for dinner, or I should make my favorite meal, or I should even just listen to my favorite song. Sometimes we just really need to get back to focusing on that celebration. And the realization is, I had a great day today. I accomplished X, Y, and Z. And to celebrate it, I'm just going to say, I had a great day today. I accomplished X, Y, and Z. And that's going to achieve a lot of that celebration for you, as opposed to like, yeah, of course, it'd be nice to book a trip to Disneyland every time you have a great day, but that's not the reality of it. Sometimes it's those small things that get forgotten that are really crucial in you building a wonderful life. So we talked about all the benefits. We talked about some of the reasons that I find this so beneficial. I typically like to focus on the negative. In a sense, I want to move away from the negative. So I think it's important for me to kind of try and express what happens when you don't journal. I already touched on a couple of them before, but effectively when I don't journal, I feel ultra busy and very unproductive, right? You feel like there's a million things going on. You don't know which issue to solve first, and you're going 100 miles a minute. And at the end of every day, you didn't get anything done. Sound familiar, right? So that's the way when I'm not journaling, that's one trait that I find comes up for me pretty quick. I tend to avoid things, and both, in a protective manner in a sense, but like I avoid the good and the bad. Sometimes those bad things, those big conversations that you have to have, those difficult situations you have to face, sometimes I'm human. Sometimes you try and kind of forget about it, or maybe you don't even try and forget about it, but sometimes you naturally just move away from it. It's you procrastinate. And sometimes it's you avoid the good things. Maybe you feel guilt for celebrating. Maybe you feel like you didn't deserve a win, whatever that is. So if it makes it really easy to avoid things where you're not journaling, you're not writing things down like that. Again, for me, I also find I lose momentum. When I'm not journaling, I don't have a chain of consistent days that I can just refer back to, right? I can know in the back of my mind it's been a good month or a good quarter or a good couple of months or a couple of years. But if I'm going back, there's not really always anything to substantiate that. But if I go back to saying, okay, I've journaled for 2 weeks, and I can go back and I can say, this is what's happened in the last 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. And it's really easy to see that momentum just build. And again, for me, something I struggle with probably the most in life is when I'm not journaling, I feel behind. I feel like everybody else is going, building these empires, and I'm just kind of sitting on the side of the road watching traffic go by, right? So for me, it really takes a journal to really focus on that growth that I've seen, because if I don't write stuff down, if I don't journal, again, I just drift. And if I don't have a very specific mindfulness practice, my mind just, it goes all over the place. So for me, it's very crucial to have that mindfulness practice, whether you're waking up in the morning or going to bed at night and journaling, or both ideally, and you're journaling. If you don't have that very specific mindfulness practice, you will feel like you're losing momentum. You will feel behind, right? And that's what we're talking about today. Now, what happens when you do journal, right? When you do journal, all these things kind of come up. It's the exact opposite. Like, instead of avoiding things, you catch that avoidance, because you're sitting down at the end of the day and you're like, shit, I didn't call so-and-so, or I didn't do my workout, or I didn't meal prep for tomorrow. You automatically just know what's important in your life. You know what matters most. If you sit down and journal every day, and the first thing that comes up is gratitude for your family and how you didn't, read, or whatever that is, that those are things that you need to focus on. And I guess subconsciously or very consciously in that matter, you recognize that those are important things to focus on. And by writing them down and journaling, they're going to be something you focus on in the next coming days or whatever. When you do journal, you execute with intention. You find things that need to be done and you focus on them until they are done. You don't need to worry about the drift, because every morning and every night, and you wake up in the morning and you say, I got to call Joe Blow. And then at the night journaling, you check off the list and you say, I called Joe Blow and it was a great conversation, right? You execute with intention, and you don't let things drift and fall by the wayside. And again, you build momentum, exact opposite, right? You build that momentum, you build that chain of events that just consistently compounds to your better life. When I journal, I feel like I'm controlling the day. When I don't journal, my day just controls me. And that's one thing that I've really found, especially in this my recent journaling and stuff like that. I wake up with intention. I wake up and I start the day strong. I have a mindfulness routine. I write in a journal for just a couple minutes, and it's focused on gratitude, my intention for the day. And it really just starts me off on a great foot, for so many reasons. Essentially, that's a commitment that I made and that I'm keeping, right? So that's the first one. It's I'm the guy that keeps my commitments to myself, right? And then all of a sudden it just snowballs from there, and everything just gets, gets substantially, I want to say easier, better, either or, happier, all that kind of stuff, right? So like I say, when I do journal, it's, I lead the day. And unfortunately, when I don't journal, it's usually the days that I really should be. And I think that's many habits that we have, is the days that feel extremely hard to do those those just hitting the floor goals. Those are the days where it's really important to do that. So that's where it's like, just buckle down and do the thing. And again, if it stays in your head, similar to me saying like, I want to lead the day, because if it stays in your head, it controls you. When it hits paper, you control it. You can lead that day. You can pick what you do that day, and you can pick what you don't do that day. If you have something specific you're trying to avoid, I don't know what that is, but if you start your day with a specific intention to, let's say for instance, you drive through Tim Hortons every morning on the way to work, right? Sounds delicious, right? But I know a lot of people that do that don't feel super comfortable that they do that. It's like, yeah, I really shouldn't. I don't want to. I end up getting a donut or a breakfast sandwich, and then I just kind of feel nasty, and I don't need to spend the money, and all sorts of reasons, right? I mean, if you do that every day and you love that, and that's the thing you wake up in the morning looking forward to, then do your thing. Like, I'm not coming at you for that. That's awesome. But if that's genuinely something you don't want to do, you're just going to subconsciously or again consciously just drive through Tim Hortons every morning on the way to work. Right. So what I'm saying is by controlling what you start your day with, your intentions, you really control how you work the rest of the day or how your body actually moves through life the rest of that day. But again, like I guess I always feel a little bit like an imposter in these situations because I'm not trying to impress upon you that I do this 365 days a year. In a perfect world, yes, I would. But I recognize how we're not in the perfect world all the time, right? I've missed, I've skipped, I already said, I've fallen out of the practice and I've felt the discomfort from that, right? Me waking up 30, 15 minutes or 2 minutes earlier every day just to journal, there's a bit of discomfort there. But really, when you stack the days that you don't journal and you realize the negative impact that chaos is having on your life, there's a tremendous amount of discomfort that comes from not doing those small actions. So I guess what I want to do now is give you a simple guide. Okay, like I said before, a little bit of a teaser. If you want to start the habit of journaling, there's a very simple way to do that. You start by writing the date on the top of the page. That's how I got into it. I then moved, once I had that habit started, I then moved to writing a quick line. For me, something I need to focus on regularly or else I just forget about it is gratitude, unfortunately. I need to write down things I'm grateful for. I find that helps me celebrate the wins and take the losses on the chin a little bit better. Right? So when I celebrate that gratitude in journaling, so for me, that was the most important thing to do. Maybe for you, you go through your life and every day and you're filled with gratitude. And I love that for you. Maybe for you, then it is, you need to stay intentional about the first thing you do in the morning, right? So then you wake up in the morning and you write down, this morning, I'm going to drink a full glass of water, whatever the hell that is, right? You build that into your day and you can really control how you start your day, which again, naturally you'll progress into like, I'm the person that starts my day with a full glass of water. I'm the person that starts my day with 10 minutes on the elliptical, whatever that is. So I would start bare bones, just the basics, start with some sort of journaling. Doesn't have to be fancy. There's a really cool 5-minute gratitude journal that I've loved using that you can pick up at any bookstore on Amazon, anything like that. But again, when you're getting started, I just really love a blank piece of paper, the date on the top, and just let your pen do the work. In the morning, I think it is important to focus on gratitude. You kind of have maybe, let's say 5 minutes in the morning, you write down, maybe 3 things you're grateful for, whatever that looks like, just some sort of a gratitude statement. You would then move into what matters or your intentions for the day. Today I'm going to accomplish this. Today I want to achieve this. Today it looks like it's full of productivity, some sort of a statement there. And in that same statement, maybe you don't necessarily have to do it. I like doing it sometimes. What am I avoiding? Today, I'm going to be efficient. My conversations are going to be clear and concise. I'm going to do this paperwork that I've been avoiding. I'm going to pay this bill. I'm going to call TELUS and wait on hold, whatever that is, because everybody hates waiting on hold with TELUS, all that kind of stuff. And then maybe it's one non-negotiable, right? So again, could be water, could be workout, could be a phone call, anything like that. So what you have built in there, you have gratitude, what matters, what I'm avoiding, and a non-negotiable. And if you were to hit all 4 of those in the morning, your day is just going to be set up for success. In the evening, so you would then go the counterpoint to that. You'd start off with, did I win the day? And I love this because maybe you didn't, and that's just fine. Maybe it's an opportunity to say, I didn't win the day, and I've done this so many times. Did I win the day? No, I did not win the day today, but here were some small wins. And I guess for me, one thing that I've noticed, if you actually call yourself out, you sometimes will realize that you didn't win the day like you expected, but you did win it somewhere else, right? Maybe you were not as efficient in building your business or your side hustle, or you didn't do the workout. I mean, for me, one thing that I typically will set in intentions is like, I'll be intentional with my workout for that day or my exercise for that day. And then I'll just be like, what am I going to do today for my fitness? I'll do lower body workout. I'll go play hockey. I'll go for a run. Sometimes I don't do that, right? And yes, that's a bit of a failure, but it's a really cool thing when you sit there and say, I didn't go for a run today because I got home from work and I felt the need to spend time with my daughters. So we went for a walk to the park instead. So let's go back. Did I win the day? Not as I originally intended, but that's a huge win. I was present for my family. I got some sort of exercise. We got sun together, and maybe we built a core memory, whatever that is. So sometimes when you don't win the day, by asking yourself that question, you actually did win in a different way. So it's a way to celebrate. And hate to say it, sometimes did I win the day? No. What did I do that was good? Nothing. I was a bum. I was sick. I laid in bed all day, whatever. That's fine too, because if you don't recognize where you went wrong, it's really easy to just do the same thing tomorrow and the next day and the next day without realizing you're drifting that much. So did I win the day? Yes or no? And what did that look like? What got done? Again, through that win or loss statement, you typically can go through what got done. Then you got, where did I fall short? Same thing. Where did I fall short? How can I improve for tomorrow? And then maybe you cap it off with a statement of gratitude, right? Like maybe this was no good. Maybe I didn't do this, but again, I didn't do my workout. I didn't make that call, but I did make a different call. I spent time with my family, whatever that is. So again, there probably is a perfect science to this, but for me, I'm not focused on a perfect science. I'm focused on the morning being setting intention for the day, and the evening capping that day, kind of bookending. So the morning, set intention with gratitude, focus on what you want to focus on. And then the evening is like, again, gratitude. Where was I today? What happened today? Where did I win? Where did I lose? If you win, celebrate it. It's really simple. The difficult part is the consistency of it. And I would really want to challenge you that by journaling and by writing your thoughts down, again, for me, it changed my life. And I'm the guy I know I'm annoying with it. I know I'm always talking to my friends about it. I'm the guy that I had a couple buddies one year for Christmas. I drove around and just delivered little books. And I don't know if I ever told this story, but I delivered little blank books. And on the inside of it, I wrote, this is a couple years ago, I wrote like, journaling has changed my life. I hope you can find that it can change your life too, or something. And I gave these books out for Christmas. They're like the little $10 books at Staples or whatever they were, probably 20 now. But yeah, I just would send it off, and I don't know if they're being used. I have no idea, but I think that's the person I am. I'm excited to share journaling with you. That's why it keeps coming up in these darn episodes, is because it's massive to put your thoughts down, to celebrate with gratitude, to get intentional for your day. I just think, how can you do anything? I would challenge you to tell me something that sets you up more for success than just writing down things with intention, right? So this isn't about journaling more. And that's why I said in the beginning, journaling didn't change my life. The clarity that I gained and the skills I gained from journaling is what changed my life. It's not about journaling more. It's just being very intentional with journaling. You don't need to sit down and write a novel every day. Sometimes my best little journaling sessions are like 3 sentences. And it's just a lot of clarity, and it's very direct. And if you read my journals, they're very messy because I don't really ever go back and read them. And it's just, I'm scribbling in the dark most times, but it's just creates a lot of clarity for myself. My experience that I shared with you earlier, my thoughts felt out of control. And I feel like this is the optimal way to control your thoughts, put them in one space, and really, really kind of categorize them and see what's real and what's not real, right? Because for myself, when I really categorized my thoughts, was intentional about what I wanted to focus on, I gained a tremendous amount of clarity. And I think for me, to cap off, one thing that I heard along the way was, and I'm going to read it so I don't butcher it, your life isn't built in a year. It's built in the days you either win or lie about. And for me, a journal at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day is a really good way to just be very honest with yourself. And where are you winning and where are you losing? Because if you actually are honest with yourself, there's a tremendous amount of strength that's within that. Because again, we don't drift on purpose. We don't just say, hey, I want to just be kind of an idiot for 3 months and just let my mindset rot and I want to end up on, I want to be on Instagram 2 hours a day, or I want to miss all my workouts, or I want to pick up drinking. Like that's not something that we do intentionally. That's the drift. And when we can eliminate the drift, your life gets laser focused. And I found the best way for me to eliminate that drift is just consistency with journaling. So again, I really hope you take a stab at it. If you want any more advice or you want to try journaling or anything like that, I'd love to talk to you more about it. But definitely try it out. Get a book, get a piece of paper, and just write the date down. Let your mind go crazy. Again, you can go back to these steps for the morning and the evening journals, but just start with something and let your mind really focus on how good it feels to write those thoughts down. I appreciate you joining me. Again, it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I really hope you try. So definitely try it out. Keep me posted if you found a massive life change like I did through journaling.